The power of Christ compels you. The Exorcist wasn't just a horror movie, it was a production cursed by real demons, actual deaths, and terrifying accidents that made the film itself more frightening than anything audiences saw on screen. Picture this: sets bursting into flames, cast members dying mysteriously, crew losing limbs, and temperatures so brutal that actors' breath created fog in the middle of summer. Many cast and crew were injured, some died, and unusual accidents delayed shooting, while a carpenter lost a thumb and a technician lost a toe. What was supposed to be a straightforward adaptation of William Peter Blatty's novel became a nightmare production that would haunt Hollywood forever. You think you know The Exorcist? You know nothing. Today I'm revealing 20 weird facts about this cursed masterpiece that even hardcore fans have never heard. And stick around for the bonus fact at the end. It involves a real serial killer who worked on the film. Let's dive into the abyss. The set literally caught fire multiple times. The production hadn't even begun properly when disaster struck. A catastrophic and costly fire ignited on the McNeil house set, destroying most of the interior. But this wasn't your typical electrical mishap. The fire burned with such intensity that it gutted nearly every room except one, Reagan's bedroom, where the possession scenes would be filmed. Friedkin later described the blaze as inexplicable, noting how the flames seemed to avoid only the room where the devil would make his presence known. The fire delayed production by 6 weeks and added massive costs to an already troubled shoot. Some crew members whispered that it was a warning. They weren't wrong. William Friedkin used real bullets to shock actors. Director William Friedkin's methods bordered on psychological warfare. To capture genuine terror, Friedkin sometimes resorted to extreme measures. He would fire off loud sound effects and sudden blanks during filming to keep his actors genuinely startled. Cast members never knew when the next bang would come, creating an atmosphere of raw unpredictability that translated perfectly onto film. Cast members never knew when the next gunshot would come, keeping them in a constant state of anxiety that translated perfectly onto film. Ellen Burstyn later described the set as genuinely terrifying, not because of the supernatural elements being filmed, but because of Friedkin's unpredictable directing style. The temperature was kept at freezing to create visible breath. The exorcism itself took nearly a month to film and was shot in sequence. The temperature drop with subsequent visible cold breath was a particular problem. Friedkin insisted on real breath vapor for authenticity, so he installed industrial air conditioning units that kept the bedroom set at a bone-chilling 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of it was shot with one camera, and all the sound was recorded separately because the equipment kept malfunctioning in the extreme cold. Cast and crew worked in winter coats between takes, their fingers numb, their breath creating genuine clouds of vapor. Linda Blair, playing the possessed Reagan, had to perform her most demanding scenes while nearly hypothermic. The cold wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. The strange string of tragedies. During and after production, several people connected with The Exorcist experienced unexpected losses or personal misfortunes, which only deepened the sense that the film was cursed. Actor Jack McGowran, who played Burke Dennings, passed away shortly after completing his role. Others tied to the production, from a night watchman to technical crew, also faced untimely ends during the film's long shoot. While every case had a medical explanation, the unusual number of incidents made cast and crew uneasy. Some even carried religious charms or refused to enter the set without a blessing. Whether coincidence or something more, the tragedies added to the film's dark reputation. Ellen Burstyn's scream was real. She actually got injured. Ellen Burstyn, who starred as Reagan's mother, Chris. Speaking to HuffPost, Ellen recalled injuring her lower back while performing a stunt. When Reagan knocks me on the floor, I landed on my... The injury happened during the bedroom scene when the possessed Reagan violently throws her mother across the room. The stunt coordinator used too much force on the pullback mechanism and Burstyn's spine compressed upon impact. The scream you hear in the film is genuine agony, not acting. Burstyn suffered permanent lower back damage that plagued her for years afterward. When you watch that scene, you're witnessing real pain, real terror. Friedkin kept the take because the authenticity was perfect. Linda Blair received death threats from religious extremists. 12-year-old Linda Blair found herself at the center of unwanted attention when certain groups couldn't separate fiction from reality. Some religious activists believed she was promoting dangerous ideas and reacted aggressively. The FBI even stepped in to provide protection. The role that made her famous also came with years of pressure and scrutiny, making her childhood far more difficult than most could imagine. Some religious groups picketed her home, claiming she was spreading Satan's influence through her performance. Blair later revealed that the threats continued for years, forcing her family to move multiple times. The irony was devastating. A child actress playing a victim of possession became victimized by those claiming to fight evil. The role that made her famous also destroyed her normal childhood. She received counseling for years to cope with the trauma. The famous head-spinning scene used a life-sized dummy. The iconic 360-degree head rotation wasn't CGI or camera tricks. It was a mechanical nightmare. Effects supervisor Marcel Vercouter created a life-sized dummy of Linda Blair that could spin its head completely around while maintaining realistic facial expressions. The dummy was so lifelike that crew members found it disturbing even when inactive. The mechanism required multiple takes because the spinning motion kept breaking down and the dummy's head would sometimes spin too fast or get stuck mid-rotation. Between takes, they stored the dummy in Blair's trailer, where she would have lunch with her mechanical doppelganger staring back at her. Cast members avoided looking at it directly. Mercedes Ruehl was almost cast instead of Linda Blair. Before Linda Blair was selected, hundreds of young actresses auditioned for Regan McNeil. The casting process was brutal, with children required to read some of the film's most disturbing dialogue. Many parents walked out with their daughters halfway through auditions. Mercedes Ruehl, who would later win an Oscar for The Fisher King, was seriously considered but deemed too old for the character's innocence to evil transformation. Blair won the role not because she was the best actress, but because she seemed least affected by the disturbing material. Casting director Juliet Taylor noted that Blair treated the audition like any other job, showing no fear or discomfort with the demonic dialogue. The vomit scene used Campbell's pea soup and oatmeal. The projectile vomiting scene remains one of cinema's most nauseating moments. The vomit was actually a mixture of Campbell's split pea soup and oatmeal, heated to body temperature and shot through a hidden tube. But the real trick was the targeting. Effects coordinator Dick Smith aimed the mixture at Jason Miller, Father Karras, but intentionally missed slightly, hitting him in the chest instead of the face. Miller's genuine surprise and disgust created the perfect reaction shot. The mixture was made fresh daily and smelled terrible under the hot studio lights. Between takes, the odor became so overwhelming that crew members had to leave the set to avoid actually vomiting themselves. A chilling discovery about an extra. Years after the film's release, an unsettling revelation came to light. One of the background extras in the hospital scene was later found to have a serious criminal past. At the time, no one on set had any idea, but in hindsight it created an eerie connection between the movie's themes of evil and something much darker in real life. Fans often point to this as proof that the film's curse seemed to extend far beyond the soundstage. The spider walk scene was cut for being too terrifying. One of the film's most disturbing sequences was deemed too shocking for audiences and removed from the original theatrical release. The spider walk scene showed Regan descending the stairs upside down like an insect, blood flowing from her mouth. Contortionist Linda R. Hager performed the stunt, with Linda Blair's face superimposed through special effects. Test audiences reportedly ran from theaters during this sequence, with some fainting in the aisles. Friedkin removed it not for technical reasons, but because it broke the psychological tension he'd carefully built. The scene was so effective at creating pure terror that it actually hurt the film's dramatic flow. It wasn't restored until the director's cut decades later. Max von Sydow wore aging makeup, despite being only 44. Max von Sydow, who played the elderly Father Merrin, was actually just 44 years old during filming. The extensive aging makeup took 4 hours daily to apply and transformed the relatively young actor into a frail, elderly priest. The makeup was so convincing that crew members who knew von Sydow personally would sometimes forget his real age and treat him like an elderly man on set. The irony was perfect of a middle-aged actor playing an ancient priest in a film about ultimate evil versus ultimate good. Von Sydow later said the makeup helped him find the character's weariness and spiritual burden. He moved differently, spoke differently, and even thought differently when wearing the aging prosthetics. The unnerving sound design, the demonic voice in The Exorcist, wasn't just an actor growling into a microphone, it was a carefully engineered mix of disturbing layers. Sound designer Robert Knudsen blended unsettling animal noises, distorted recordings, and vocal tricks to create a voice that felt inhuman. Combined with Mercedes McCambridge's unforgettable performance, the result triggered a primal discomfort in audiences. Even when viewers couldn't pinpoint why they felt uneasy, the sound design was working its sinister magic. Warner Brothers wanted to fire William Friedkin mid-production. Production took twice as long as scheduled and cost almost 3 times the initial budget, causing studio executives to panic. Warner Brothers seriously considered removing Friedkin from the project and bringing in a more conventional horror director. The delays, cost overruns, and constant accidents had executives convinced the film would be a disaster. They held emergency meetings discussing how to salvage their investment. Friedkin's unconventional methods and perfectionist approach clashed with studio demands for efficiency. Only the intervention of producer William Peter Blatty, who had script approval, kept Friedkin attached. The studio's fears proved groundless. The Exorcist became one of the highest-grossing films of all time. The film had to be blessed by real priests multiple times. The Exorcist set had to be blessed as it was deemed to be cursed. After the series of deaths and accidents, Catholic priests were brought to the set to perform actual blessing ceremonies. The cast and crew attended these blessings, with many genuinely believing supernatural forces were interfering with production. Father Thomas Birmingham, who served as the film's religious advisor, performed multiple blessings throughout shooting. Some crew members refused to work until the blessings were completed. The blessed sets created an eerie atmosphere where religious ceremonies were performed daily in the same locations where demonic possession scenes were filmed. Even skeptical crew members admitted the blessings seemed to reduce accidents. Subliminal images were hidden throughout the film. Friedkin inserted brief subliminal images of demonic faces throughout the film, flashing for single frames that the conscious mind couldn't process, but the subconscious registered. These hidden images appeared during seemingly normal scenes, creating subconscious unease in viewers. The technique was controversial, and some theaters refused to show the film because of these hidden elements. Audiences reported feeling unexplained dread during scenes that appeared normal on the surface. The subliminal images included death masks, demonic sculptures, and disturbing paintings that flashed too quickly for conscious recognition. Modern frame-by-frame analysis has revealed dozens of these hidden images, explaining why viewers felt continuously unsettled even during quiet dialogue scenes. The exorcism scenes were filmed in sequence over 30 days. The exorcism section took nearly a month to shoot and was filmed entirely in sequence, which was unusual for film production. Friedkin, who says he was only able to complete about 5 shots a day due to the complexity and cold temperature required. This methodical approach allowed the actors to build genuine psychological intensity, but it also trapped them in the film's most disturbing content for weeks. By the end of shooting, cast members reported nightmares and difficulty sleeping. The prolonged exposure to the demonic material created lasting psychological effects. Jason Miller began having religious dreams. Linda Blair required therapy. The sequential filming created authentic deterioration in the characters that perfectly matched their on-screen journey from skepticism to terror. The film caused mass hysteria in theaters worldwide. When the film about a young girl's demonic possession came out in 1973, people fainted, wept, and fled the theater. Armed guards had to be posted at screenings. Emergency medical personnel were stationed in theater lobbies to treat viewers who collapsed during screenings. Some theaters provided Exorcist survival kits containing smelling salts and motion sickness bags. Religious groups organized protests outside theaters, while other groups held prayer vigils for the film's success. The movie created a cultural phenomenon that transcended entertainment. Psychiatrists reported increased patients claiming demonic possession. Churches saw increased attendance as people sought spiritual protection after viewing the film. The stairs scene location became a tourist destination. The famous stone steps where Father Karras plunges to his death are real and located in Georgetown, Washington, D.C. After the film's release, these steps became an unexpected tourist attraction, with horror fans making pilgrimages to walk the 75 concrete steps. Local residents complained about tourists recreating scenes from the movie, particularly the tumbling death sequence. The steps had to be roped off during peak tourist seasons to prevent injuries from fans attempting dangerous stunts. Even today, the Exorcist steps remain a popular destination for horror movie tours. The location has been featured in documentaries, anniversary celebrations, and countless fan photographs. A plaque was eventually installed commemorating the film's cultural impact. William Peter Blatty based the story on a real exorcism. The film's terrifying foundation rests on true events. Author William Peter Blatty researched an actual 1949 exorcism case involving a young boy in Maryland. He interviewed witnesses, read medical records, and consulted with the priests who performed the real exorcism. The boy exhibited many of the same symptoms shown in the film: speaking in unknown languages, supernatural strength, violent reactions to religious objects, and knowledge of private information about strangers. Blatty changed the gender to female and relocated the story to Georgetown, but the core supernatural events were documented reality. The real case involved over 30 witnesses and was considered authentic by the Catholic Church. This wasn't fiction inspired by folklore. It was drama based on verified supernatural occurrence. Bonus fact: the film's most shocking line of dialogue wasn't spoken by Linda Blair at all. Due to the extreme nature of the profanity and Blair's young age, actress Mercedes McCambridge provided all of Pazuzu's voice work, including the infamous insult directed at Father Karras. Blair was present during these recording sessions, but was instructed to mouth the words silently while McCambridge's voice was recorded separately. The synchronization was so perfect that audiences assumed Blair spoke those lines herself, creating decades of controversy about exposing a child actress to such extreme material. McCambridge chain-smoked cigarettes and drank whiskey to achieve the demon's raspy voice quality, literally damaging her vocal cords to create authentic supernatural terror. The Exorcist remains cinema's most genuinely cursed production, a film where the line between supernatural fiction and documented reality became terrifyingly blurred. 50 years later, the movie continues to possess new generations of viewers, proving that some forces are too powerful for Hollywood to contain. What did you think of these shocking facts? Drop a comment below and tell us which revelation surprised you most. And remember, when you're lying awake tonight unable to sleep, that's not just great filmmaking. That's the power of Christ compelling you.